To replace the hand checking, a lot of players have gone to this type of position so that hand is not out. So now James is feeling what used to be an arm bar on his body. They have to come off his body now for freedom of movement with the rules. So as he's driving right, he sees that arm away from your body, and he now comes up as though he's getting ready to go into his shooting motion.
Sunday night, we got to watch the Clippers versus OKC, and it was a pretty great watch. But my main takeaway from watching this game is how differently now two great players in this game are now perceived. This all-time great right here, and what feels like the new version to some extent of him, Shai. Every single time I get on social media now, it feels like I'm realizing SGA is becoming one of the more polarizing players in basketball. And even though it doesn't feel like it right now, in his prime, so is James Harden. I come to realize the players that draw the most fouls are normally the most polarizing players in basketball. Trae Young got this tag with how dangerous his sudden stops were. Jalen Brunson gets this to some extent. The worst one, Joel Embiid, which was kind of embarrassing with how big he is. And now Shai. It doesn't even matter how great he plays. Every single game, he's going to have 1, 2, or maybe even 3 of these. These are the players that lead the league in scoring this year. And these are their free throws attempted per game and their free throws made per game. Shai happens to be one of the most efficient free throw shooters in basketball. So unlike Giannis, who's also always at the line, he makes his. So it makes it even more annoying.
Well, you know, it's so frustrating to play this team because they foul a ton. You know, they really do. They foul all the time. And then, you know, you can't really touch Shai.
Now, yes, I get it. This is annoying and this can feel unwatchable, especially if he's doing this to your team. But regardless of any of this, I don't want these individual clips that blow up on Twitter to disguise the season Shai is having, because it is very misleading. I'm just going to give you the facts. So facts over feelings. Regardless of any of those free throws, I just showed you the league leading scorers this year. Now these are the league leading scorers. Even if you take away their free throws made, Shai is still won by a pretty significant margin. He's literally having one of the best, most efficient guard seasons, especially given his volume, since Jordan. The funny part about all of this to me as well is the James Harden element to it, where some people are making it seem as if it's some type of disgrace to mention Shai in the same breath as prime Harden, when bro, I promise you it's not. I just told you Shai is having one of the greatest guard seasons in modern NBA history, and he is. Well, in 2019, James Harden did as well. This man averaged 36 points a night, only second to MJ in modern NBA history. James Harden had like a 31-game streak in which he scored 30 points every night. Now, if you want to hear what a true free throw merchant looks like, please listen to this. During that extremely impressive 30-point 30-game streak, which I still admire to this day, James Harden was averaging 13 free throw attempts per game. Just to give you context as to how extremely abnormal that really was, since the merger, and I love to take out the Wilt years because, you know, only Shaq shot more free throws for a season, and he's above Giannis. These are two of the most dominant forces we've ever seen.
That's 2.5 minutes. One of the smaller.
I promise you, and it wasn't even that long ago, so maybe I'm just getting old. What Shai is doing this year is light work compared to that version of James Harden. Even if you look at James Harden's career averages for free throws made per game and field goals made per game, they're dead even. Why? Well, because 6 times he actually averaged more free throws made than he did field goals. Shai's never done that, and I can hear it now. Well, it's the type of foul Shai's getting. Bro, I'm telling you now, there was an error where an all-time great player lived this for real, and a much larger sum of his points came from this. If you don't believe me, I'm showing you individual games now. These are real life games, and these are some of the calls that James Harden was getting. They had real life topics on TV about how James Harden was manipulating basketball and bending the rules. This clip right here basically is a great representation about how players actually felt guarding James Harden.
So Harden has only attempted 9 free throws through 3 games this season.
Wow.
So let's put that into comparison. 3 seasons prior to this one, that's a big difference.
No matter how much of a big deal we try to make it, a foul is a foul. But for me, you just got to keep going.
In 2021, James Harden had the worst efficiencies of his career up until that point since his rookie year. Also in that very same season, James Harden made the least amount of shots he ever did per game since his rookie season. Why? Well, a big part of it is because the NBA implemented a literal James Harden rule that cracked down on non-basketball tactics used to draw fouls.
I remember I said something out of pocket about Cole. No. I said James Harden scored a little better than Cole. Was I out of pocket?
The funny thing about this exact conversation, where we compare an all-time great of the past to a current great breaking barriers now, is we did this exact same thing when James Harden was dominating. There used to be an actual conversation. Is James Harden the greatest scorer ever? Can't lie. That shit used to blow my mind. Because how people romanticize James Harden's prime, which I understand if that was your childhood, that's how I do Kobe. And the majority of his big games and a lot of his buckets that I remember look like these. Don't get me wrong, James Harden completely destroyed the league with his step back three, baptizing defenders with his handles. He was literally a 3-level scorer, so he had you on skates at all times. But those prime Harden clips are simply just the clips they'll show you. Don't forget he lived at the line for real. Even right to this day, James Harden is plus 100 in free throws made per game as opposed to field goals made per game. Look at that compared to Shai, Kobe, Jordan, Wade, and whoever else you want to put in. Please give the real GOAT his credit. This is not Shai's crown, I promise you. These are the guards with the most seasons averaging 9 field goals made per game. As you can see, Kobe and MJ, they got the most natural non-free throw buckets, and that's probably why we cling on to their play styles. Now 9 is an odd number, but I really wanted to make it 10 where the list really shrinks. These are literally the guards with the most seasons averaging 10 field goals made per game. No free throws, no non-ethical hoops that y'all be saying. This is literally the list. Shai is already damn near at the top with 3 in 7 seasons. I'm only making this point because these individual bad clips, and they are bad, I get it, but these clips that circulate around the internet, it can actually brainwash you if you're not actually watching full games or at least full highlights of Shai into believing this is how he actually eats. And yes, these clips are bad, but I promise you it's not. In the history of the NBA, these are the players with the most seasons, averaging 30 points per game or more and shooting over 50% from the field. Look at where Shai is. If you look at the players this year with the most games with at least 15 field goals made or more this year, Shai is number 1. Now, let's go back to James Harden in 2019. Can you see the difference? And that's in 10 more games. Now, if you go to the players with the most 15 or more free throw attempts this year, the most games this year, Shai's not even number 1. Compare that to James Harden in 2019, and you just see the massive difference. I'm not even saying what people complain about doesn't happen, because clearly we have individual clips where it does, and I'm not defending that. I'm just saying it's a bit overblown. Shai is having the 11th highest scoring season since the merger. Now look at everybody else's free throw attempts compared to Shai's. It's not that crazy. James Harden is the only player on this list with 2 seasons averaging 11. That man was the king. The NBA probably should retool that James Harden rule. I even agree. But even when they do, he's still going to be doing this to your team. I promise you.
It felt like you had it rolling tonight, and he didn't even get to the free throw line that many times.
Yeah, I don't need free throws. When they come, it's a plus, but I don't need them. I get it however I take it.
If you guys like this video, and I know some people are not going to like this video because Shai is a very polarizing topic now, but this is not the majority of his game. Like, the majority of his game is pure hoops if you actually watch. Follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys, and until next time, as always, stay tuned.